Hey everybody, we are in New Jersey to interview Daniele Taverna, psychic medium, which is going to be part 2, second time that I'm interviewing a psychic medium. And I brought a good friend of mine, Bobby. Welcome aboard, buddy. Thanks for helping out today.
Thank you. Happy to be here. Excited.
So sometimes it happens that my guys can't come on events or travels because they work and I have these weird days off. So on this Tuesday morning that we're recording, I had to reach out to one of my friends, and Bobby here is a person that absolutely loves the paranormal. And we were talking all summer about his interests, and when he found out that I'm into this stuff, we became best friends, pretty much. Yeah. And I took Bobby, so I want everybody to know who's helping me out today. And Bobby, just tell us a little bit about your interest in the paranormal. What got you into it?
I don't know. I mean, I've been interested in this since I was a little kid. My neighbor, my cousin across the street, her house was definitely had paranormal activity, which I experienced myself. So it really gave me an interest. Like, I believe it wholeheartedly. I am suspect of every individual case because it needs to be proven to me. But an overall picture, I find it so intriguing. And I always want to delve into it more and learn more about it. So I'm glad to have the opportunity to be here today.
Yeah, Bobby, we were having a lot of discussions throughout the summer, some really interesting stories. Told him that I went to the house in Brewster, and he saw the video, and it was pretty much a nice conversation point all summer long. Yeah. And Bobby was going to be joining us on our Sleepy Hollow expedition when we go on Columbus Day to try to find the Bronze Lady statue, which has this really crazy folklore about it. It's the hidden gem of Sleepy Hollow, because Sleepy Hollow is more historical. It was a story that was written by Washington Irving, and in the book, it made Sleepy Hollow very famous. And it's just a story. It's a folklore. It's something that Sleepy Hollow drives off of. But in the Sleepy Hollow Cemetery, which has substantial historics to it, if you look at the gravestones and see how far they date back, in that cemetery is this statue that has a little history to it, that overlooks a Civil War general, and there is a ghost tale that was in the news. USA Today did an article about it. We're going to find it in October. Last year we didn't. We're going to find it in October. We're going to explore the cemetery, and Bobby's going to be with our little team that we have, and we're going to have a good day in Sleepy Hollow, and it's right in the middle of spooky season. So it's going to be perfect content for you guys. But we're here today. We're waiting for Danielle to be ready. We're going to have a nice little interview with a psychic medium, and stay tuned because it's going to be some good content and a lot more coming up for spooky season. Bobby, thank you.
Exciting. I'm glad to be here.
Awesome. I appreciate the help, brother.
Good man. Good man.
See you guys in a bit. Hey, everybody. We're here on a very special YouTube edition for the Say What Again, Billy podcast. And with me, Daniele Taverna. Danielle?
Hey.
How are you? Thanks for having us come. Danielle is a psychic medium. And as everybody knows, we are getting interested more and more about psychics every month. And we found Danielle through a mutual friend, obviously through Nick, who's the one who recommended that we reach out to Danielle. So Danielle, tell us a little bit about yourself and when exactly you got into the psychic field.
So, I, just like any other person, was living life. I would say probably around 9, I started to have premonition dreams about things that would happen. But I always brushed it off because my mom was always like, oh, that happens to everybody. So, whatever. So it was periodically happening here or there, even as a child. But I never thought twice about it. Right. Then when I hit 25, I had a cascade of health issues happen. And from that point forth, I started to go into holistic wellness, acupuncture, Chinese herbs, all these different modalities. And one day I just happened to be in my apartment in Hoboken and I heard voices. Yeah. And just like I hear you now.
So did this particular apartment have a history to it, or did you just hear voices because that's what you were picking up, like your ability was happening and now you were picking up from great beyond?
So From what I understood was when I started to look into the history of the building actually was a Knights of Columbus for 60 years.
Okay.
It was originally a home, then it was a Knights of Columbus, then it was chopped up into condo units, then made a singular home, then chopped up into condo units, and the open space that was next to the building, which is now a garden, is behind a church.
Okay.
So allegedly, in historic documentation that I was able to find on that area of Hoboken, that was probably more than likely a graveyard.
Really?
And you can see it in pictures. I could send you pictures, actually.
Wow. Yeah. Send me those pictures. That'd be great.
Yeah.
So you started hearing these voices, and that's when you knew something was going on.
Yeah, I started to be a little bit concerned. I'm like, no one else is hearing this. How am I hearing this?
Right.
And I actually, at that time, was seeing a psychic in Long Island. Here and there, I would go get a reading. And I asked her, I was like, is this how this works for you? Because this has never happened to me before.
Right.
And she was like, well, you're just opening up. And she's like, that's how it happens for most people. Like, just something traumatic happens. For me, it was my health. And then, boom, the door swings open. For other people, I'm sure it's a bunch of other things.
Right. So we've talked to a few psychics. I actually have a psychic on my podcast group now. And what she's described to me is that she just gets a feeling, or somebody will come into the room. She could be anywhere. She could be on the phone talking to someone. Now that you're like full-fledged psychic, this is what you do. When do you chime into your abilities? So if someone, let's just say someone comes to you and says, I want to get a psychic reading. They booked you. You sit down. How does this manifest? How does this work? Like, how do you read a person? Take me through the steps for you.
Okay. So when I read a person or I go to a location, I set the intention, I'm open now. Because otherwise, I set the intention not to be open.
Right.
Otherwise, they will be talking to me and, coming to me all the live long day. However, I sit down with the person and I say, just give me your first name. And then I just roll out from there. I usually hear things in my left ear. That's probably the biggest, clair that I have. Well, the clair is clairvoyance, clairaudience, clairsentience. I know things, like, as they're just talking to me, I just can know them. Or I will get, like, visuals and, just kind of, like, feelings on things. So,
Right.
Yeah, it just kind of over time, it just developed into further and further things past the hearing on its own.
So let's just say our camera guy right now, Bobby, is sitting in front of you.
Okay.
And you'll just be telling him, I'm getting this person, and describe something along the lines of like a man with brown hair is coming through and he's wearing a certain watch. And then you would relay that to him. That's how it works for the most part.
Yeah, so like I would set the intention, like, hey, just even looking at you, I'm getting something with your mom. Is your mom living or passed? And then it would go from that, which I am getting something with your mom. So it's funny that we're talking about this. And, from there I would go further and I would tell the spirit, okay, come closer, come talk to me. And then from there, I would just give them all the information I get. They show me things. They'll show me mementos. It's evidential. So they're trying to provide evidence that it is them so that the sitter knows and can verify that person. Otherwise, I could just say, hey, your mom's here and just spew out. How do you know that?
Is it ringing a bell with you right now? Like something.
It's an odd person that you would bring up, yeah.
Yeah.
We're going to talk about this.
Yeah.
We're going to have to give you the mic and get you in here for a second. So now this is what interests me with psychics. Now, I've been doing a lot more paranormal investigations. I toned it down a little bit. I had a group. We went to locations. I've gone on over 20 plus investigations. And the one thing that interests me more in the last few years is the demonic aspect, because people say that psychics or even paranormal investigators open themselves up to the demonic realm when they do these things. Because in the Catholic faith, which, are you still practicing Catholic or kind of?
I wouldn't say I'm practicing.
Right.
I mean, I do the Easter, Christmas,
Right.
like everyone else,
Tradition.
but yeah.
Yeah. So a lot of heavy Catholic people say that you shouldn't go to an investigation because you're opening yourself up. There's no such thing as ghosts. There's only demons and angels. So when they go to a site to investigate, there's nothing there that's haunting it. It's really the demonic forces trying to lure you in, to open you up to do certain things. It intrigues me because that's a theory, but it intrigues me with psychics because how do you guys see the negative entities? I had one psychic tell me she calls them shapeshifters. Now, are you familiar with that? What's your take on demonic activity with psychics?
Doing paranormal work in the last year more than ever. 'Cause normally I would just go to cemeteries and I have locations on my own to just check them out. When I started to actually go, like I went to Brushy Mountain Prison in Tennessee in March, and then I went to White Hope Mansion in, over the summer. When I go to these locations, to be honest with you, I personally think that I wouldn't say demons, but what I do get is like spirits that are like mischievous, or I would say like they are not evolving or they're stopping themselves from evolving. So that can kind of be like if you were not a great person in life, you are probably, if you're not allowing yourself to move forward and into the light, I guess you could say, you can be a not so great person on the other side. And also, too, I do think that there is something to people going into locations and doing rituals and things that they don't know what they're doing. And they could be conjuring up some pretty bad spirits. So I guess you could say I believe more in bad spirits than I do in actual like demons and such.
Yeah, see, everybody has their different everybody has their different take when it comes to that.
Yeah.
It's interesting you said that because a few weeks ago, my co-host had a birthday party for his daughter. And his father-in-law is a psychic. And he's like, you got to talk to him. And we sat down, we had a discussion, and he was saying things about free will. You believe in free will. That free will doesn't end here on earth. That it actually extends into the afterlife. Where when you pass, you have the decision and the free will to say, do you want to go to heaven? Do you want to stay here? Or do you want to come back as something else, like reincarnation?
Yeah.
So what is your take on that? Because I would love to hear your input on that, because that's something we just basically covered on an episode.
So from a mediumship perspective, I definitely believe in reincarnation. I definitely think that, souls come down again and again and again to learn certain lessons. We sign up for things. We all come in with a karmic path. I can see it astrologically when I pull people's charts. So it's funny how that kind of like lines up. Like I can see like addiction or like, a parent passing or like issues with relationships, whatever. But like from a medium perspective or from like a psychic perspective, I do feel like we come in each lifetime with a certain like script, if you will. And certain things I do believe are predetermined that we cannot change.
Right.
But there are certain things that I do believe are free will. Like no matter which way you look at it, if such and such thing is meant to happen to you, you can go this way or that way, but that thing will happen. But how you get there is up to you.
Right. So it's going to happen. It's just you have different paths to go to how that happens.
For certain things.
And it's interesting because, religiously, I like to include religion.
Sure.
God he knows what you're going to do.
Yeah.
Right? That's the take. You kind of basically wrote it out that it's very similar. The path is already written. What path you take is going to determine what happens.
Yeah. I think there are certain things that are free will, and I think that there is nothing set in stone 100%. But I do think there are certain things that we could say, the likelihood is probably 98%.
Right.
So I don't think, you getting up this morning and deciding to go here versus there, that's on you.
Yes.
But like some major stuff, I do think we sign up for that.
Interesting. Take me through one of your most scariest moments when taking on a paranormal investigation as a psychic medium. What's one of the scarier moments that you could remember?
I'm so scared all the time of stuff. So.
It's funny you said that because our psychic Joanne, she says that she's like, I am so scared of this stuff, and I talk about it and I do it, and she just came on our first paranormal investigation, and it wasn't that bad.
Yeah.
Well, what are you told me that you go on paranormal investigations now? You're afraid. What gives you that guile to go to these places?
I like history. So I'm like, I want to check this out just from a historical standpoint. It interests me. It interests me to learn just as like a visitor, less as a psychic and more as like a visitor.
Right.
And then like once I'm there, I'm like, okay, like I want to hear this person's story.
Right.
Or, kind of entertain it that way. But I'm showing up just like everybody else. Like
right. It's crazy because I was telling Bobby on the way up here that when you're in this field, in totality, paranormal, there is so much history involved that as a paranormal investigator, you go to Gettysburg, said you were going there soon.
Yeah.
Or you went there.
I'm going to go. I went there and I'm going to go back.
You're going back. History galore, right?
Mm-hmm.
You go there as a paranormal investigator, you got to understand why Devil's Den is haunted, why the Farnsworth house is haunted, why the Jenny Wade house is haunted. You got to understand why before you go there and investigate. As a psychic, sometimes you might not have the history,
Yeah,
but you
don't
just go
really
there and you
need
pick
it.
up on it. You know, it's very interesting stuff. Now, do you have, without disclosing personal information, which reading can you remember that was most impactful to that person that booked you?
Oof. You know, it's so crazy. I remember telling somebody that they were, and I normally don't like to interfere with people's free will, but they were telling me that they were going to start a relationship with some person that I never met or knew. And I just felt legitimately that they were in danger. And I was
Danger.
like, I
Not
never
a bad
feel,
relationship.
yeah,
Danger.
literal danger. Turns out this person ended up getting arrested 6 months later and then spent a lot of time in jail because they were violent. But I normally don't like to get involved in people's free will. But like for something like that, like I was like, you are legitimately in danger here. This is something that you would see on TV. And it turned out to play out that way. So I do think they were able to sidestep some, not everything, but they were able to sidestep some stuff and at least prepare for it.
Wow.
You know, and that was kind of one of the times where I was
Possibly
just like,
save them being guilty by association or a whole bunch of things that could have happened. Or worse, yeah, they could have got hurt.
yeah.
So that's the most impactful reading you've probably given someone so far.
Yeah, that was kind of scary. There was another one too where someone was a missing person and I was like, I feel like they're still alive. And they were like, get out, like this and that, but turns out they were still alive. They had ran off for a minute there. You know, not to get too into the weeds of that story, but yeah, that was another one where like looking for missing people, doing the forensic stuff, I think is helpful because it's a nice, useful way to use this. Personally, rather than going into a location which is like spirits, which
Yeah.
personally I don't do, but you know, I know it's a thing.
You talked about psychics potentially helping in police investigations. I think on one of the older Unsolved Mysteries, maybe it could have been the new one. This is a new one on Netflix now. There was a particular story where the police department was getting information from a psychic, which led to the different clues or something in trying to find the path of what happened to, I think it was a missing person. But that's something interesting because you definitely deterred that person from a whole bunch of problems.
Yeah, so that was cool. You know, I think there's a lot of different situations that pop off with people's lives that you can use this for.
Right.
I think the whole thing for me is just going into it is like, how can I help this person?
Right.
Like, what's going to be the most useful for them? Like, for me to tell somebody something that they're going to be able to utilize versus like, you know, when people come to you and they're like, am I going to die next month? It's like, first of all, I'm not going there. They won't tell me that anyway. But I think it's just the whole basis of what we do is helping people. So.
What you just said there, they don't tell you that, right? This individual that I was speaking to at my friend's birthday party, his daughter's birthday party, his father-in-law said that he could predict the time, the date. One story he told happened to be that his wife's father had passed. Exact day, exact time. He's like the Super Saiyan of psychics. It's like, as I like to say, or I said last episode, do certain people have levels of mediumship, psychic abilities?
I think so, and I think some of us have different boundaries. Like, that's just not a piece of information I would want to know.
Neither do and I told him, when he said that to me, I said, I don't want to know nothing.
So I do think that there's, like, from what I understand, all mediums are psychic, but not all psychics are mediums.
Right.
So I think it works differently for everybody. Like, some people's clairvoyance might be stronger, their clairaudience or their clairsentience. I think it depends on how it works for each person and what their strongest suit is. I would say that I don't really, like, I can't judge. I think everybody has somewhat of an ability, but I think there are some people, like, come in with it or, you know, that, like, it just happens for them.
Right.
And then other people, like, they might decide they want to work on their intuition or something like that. And it would be more, not that you can't build upon that, but like I always say, it's like Whitney Houston came in with a natural inclination to sing. Her getting lessons just made her all the better.
Right.
Britney Spears, although a great entertainer, is never going to sound like Whitney.
Never.
So I think it varies. Yeah, I think it varies.
True. When you go to these paranormal investigations, do you just use your senses, or do you like to bring specific tools that other psychics and investigators use? Pendulums, dowsing rods? Do you use any modern technology, spirit boxes, EMF meters?
I've been on investigations where people are using them alongside me. Personally, I don't have any of that stuff in my house, and I just go there myself, and I'm like, I'm going to see what I feel, and then I go home and I Google the history.
Okay.
Yeah.
So you Google the history after you go.
After.
Which is good.
Yeah.
Because you're a psychic. See, with us investigators, it's the opposite. We
Right.
Google the history to find out why a location is haunted. If we come up with an additional fact that was there, then we can kind of pinpoint it. Psychics, it's very good that you do it that way because you don't know nothing and you're going there explaining. Like in this town that we're in here now, you might get called to a place, the house has a history. You don't know the history. You go there and the people that live there, they know it, and you're telling them things and you have no knowledge prior to it, which makes the validity of a psychic medium that much higher.
Yeah.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
It's very interesting.
I prefer people not to tell me things. I don't want to be biased. I'm opinionated as it is. And I feel like I don't want to form an opinion before I get there because I don't want that to taint whatever it is that I'm going to give them.
It's good. When you go to cemeteries, I have heard from other people that when you have abilities of being a psychic medium, cemeteries are actually very peaceful places. Is that the same with you?
For the most part, yeah. I like cemeteries for the mere fact that I like to see, how, sometimes on the old, especially the stones from like the 16, 17, 18s, they wrote like pretty much inscriptions on how these people passed.
Right.
So just from a historical standpoint, I do believe cemeteries are very peaceful. I have not been to a cemetery where I feel like it's been disturbed, really. The only time a cemetery, I think, can be an issue is when a home or something that someone is either working or dwelling in is built over it.
Right.
Personally, I think that's almost a guaranteed haunting, at least in my experience.
That's the telltale sign of hauntings. You build over your rest in peace. It's your final resting place. If you build over something, you're disturbing that body that is supposed to be there for eternity or until that final book of Revelation stuff. But that's the telltale sign of paranormal investigation. This house was built over a cemetery. That's the alleged story of the Amityville Horror House.
Yeah.
It was built over a cemetery. We visited Letchworth Village Cemetery, which is undisturbed, but it's very sad because the people that were buried there were not able to have their families come and give them a proper headstone. So the entire cemetery is marked with these T's and an ID number. That is it.
Yeah.
I would say 1 in every 20 tombstones there, or maybe 1 in every 30, have a proper headstone because their families were able to come back and give them a proper headstone. And I feel that when Nick and I went there, that's why the spirit box activity gave us 3 specific names, because they don't have the period at the end of the sentence. They don't have a headstone. No one knows it's them. It's just a body in the ground. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, now, as far as booking you and getting in touch with you to do psychic readings, how does the people watching this contact you?
Well, I have an Instagram, which is at psychic medium Daniele Taverna. And then if you go on my Instagram profile page, there's a link to my website, which is readingsbydanielle.com.
Okay. I'm going to try to pull all that up when we do the video, and I'll link that so everybody can see it. Now, you brought us something very interesting. We were walking to this location. You said there is a cemetery here. That's interesting.
Mm-hmm.
Now, with your permission and my cameraman's permission, would you mind walking us to that cemetery and, explaining it? Because it's pretty good extra content, in my opinion.
Sure.
And if you pick up on anything, would you let us know?
Sure.
And then I'd also like you to talk to our cameraman, which you said something earlier. So see if you can elaborate on that. I'm sure he's intrigued.
Sounds like a plan.
All right, we're going to go to the cemetery now, and we'll see you in a bit.
So we got a surprise with this psychic interview part 2, psychic medium interview part 2. Danielle brought us to a Dutch cemetery, and if Bobby pans over here, you could see that it is very, you don't even know it's here. So she's going to take us through, and we're going to walk through a cemetery with a psychic medium, which is pretty cool.
Sounds like a plan. So this, from what I understand, and I was just telling Bobby, these headstones originally, they had said that Fairlawn came in and exhumed these bodies and moved them over to Fairlawn Cemetery. Personally, I do not believe that's the truth, because if you start to like move the leaves around and move the dirt around, you actually can find most of the headstones that were on here lying flat. I highly doubt too that New Jersey would go in after 200 years and disturb this. They probably just wanted to make it look like a clearance so that these people here would not be tax exempt, because if you do own a home where there is like people laying to rest, you are exempt from paying taxes. See, there's like one right here. I think they did more of the knocking over than they did the actual removal. There's no way they exhumed these people. There's tree roots under here and everything.
So what do you pick up on when you're here? Does your theory hold true? Look at this headstone. It's
There's
just
one
knocked over.
knocked over. Yeah, they were definitely not exhumed. Personally, for me, I feel just a lot of like, this just feels to me like feeling like forgotten, feeling like I do feel like there is a sense of anger of the people who were here for what it is now. When I go back into their lives and stuff, I do feel a lot of these people died on the younger side, like maybe like 30s. It's funny because I just heard like 34. So somebody over here died at 34. I do feel that there's a lot of, they say like TB, I guess was a thing then.
Tuberculosis,
Yeah.
yeah.
So that comes up. You know, I guess the further you go in and out of this, you'll find more and more. Like there's even headstones resting upon these rocks, like up against this actual somewhat still active cemetery.
Wow. So that's the Jewish cemetery, but we're focusing here on this Dutch side because
Yeah.
it's look at it, like
It's just
it's crazy.
crazy. I mean, this one, what does this say? 1809 or 1899? That's actually not that bad.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
Look at all this over here. This is
That's crazy. I didn't even notice they had like headstones up that way.
oh.
And it goes out far. Like this whole stretch, if you keep going, it keeps going.
Watch your step. There's stuff all over the place.
They see a lot of fox out here and a lot of bears.
The bears don't scare me.
I don't feel like we're going to be attacked by a bear today.
No.
I would have already had that feeling before we got here. So no, we're good.
So this looked like it could have been it was like black cross beams to like a mausoleum maybe even.
Yeah. Family units, especially the Dutch, they used to like to rope their family names in.
Right.
So like each unit would have its own little fencing around it. Some of the chains, you actually might find some over there where actually the chains are still intact.
It's crazy because you have houses right across. Well, this house is right next to it.
Mm-hmm.
These houses over here that they're doing work over there. You can smell the sawdust. They
Right.
got this right across the street from them, and that house over there. I'd be very curious to see if they have any like stories like, yeah, you know, we see this at night, or
Without a doubt, I could feel 100% they're definitely whoever's living here and in this whole block radius, without a doubt, is experiencing
so let's walk
activity.
over there.
Cool.
Where it's a little bit less sound,
Sure.
and then we'll cut it and we'll do a spirit box session and see what we catch. All right, we're gonna just run a spirit box. Now again, it is an app that I have verified. It's through Ghost Hunters that made this. So you can be a believer or non-believer, but we're doing it just to see what we catch, because Danielle has a theory that these bodies were not properly exhumed. It looks like they knocked over the tombstones. She has a theory we just heard her say. So we're gonna run, ask some questions and see what happens. All right, I'll put my phone on full volume, and here we go. Danielle, you want to ask?
Give us a name, whoever's here.
Are there still spirits here?
Is it possible it's picking up the feedback from there?
Now, if something is here, it will put words on this screen and also say it.
What if you get closer to your hand?
Your hair.
That's
Whose
weird.
hair do you like? What color is the hair? Do you like Danielle's hair? Do you like Bobby's hair? Do you like my hair?
2 chairs.
2 chairs. 2 chairs. Was there chairs here?
I don't know. We have an idea that there was a crypt down that way.
Okay.
That was something that when I came here with my 2 other psychic friends, we had went down that way and we thought that there was a crypt. I'm assuming that people could sit.
Ruth.
Ruth. There's your name. Ruth.
Okay. You could probably check these and see if anybody's Ruth.
Ruth.
That's Peter.
Again, very uncommon name we just got. Ruth is not very common.
Some of these I can't read.
Ruth, are you buried here? Am I speaking with Ruth? It says, I threw something.
What?
What did you throw? Look at this, Bobby. You can come closer. I know this intrigues you. That's what it's coming up. Whatever we ask comes up, and yeah.
I have to get this app.
What did you throw?
Oh, shit. Oh, my God.
You get that on the camera? I was cremated. We are in a cemetery, just so you know. We are in a cemetery.
You
So,
know, I felt like Ruth was a child
is Ruth a child?
or a baby.
I'm restarting it. I want a fresh.
Okay.
Was Ruth a... Now it said hello.
And that would be that way.
So something just said hello.
Mm-hmm.
Are you picking up anything?
I feel that whoever this Ruth is a baby, or Ruth is talking about her baby that died. And it's interesting because this is in Dutch. I cannot make it out. And I'm not quite sure Dutch would translate to whatever we would call names here. But
Quiet.
Quiet. It told us quiet. Are we being too loud? Are we disturbing you? Are we disturbing you? Do you want us to leave?
Tongue terror.
Tongue terror.
what?
Tongue terror?
There's a man here. He feels wayward to me. And I don't think he's connected to this. I don't know if or he might be. I don't know, or he spent a lot of time here.
You. As she's talking about this guy, I just got you.
Yes?
You, Danielle, you? You want to talk to Danielle? What do you want to say to Danielle?
Wyatt.
Wyatt.
Maybe that's
Like
who
Wyatt
I'm seeing.
Earp.
There's a really tall man here.
Yeah, is that your name? Wyatt? Which would be a very common name in the 16th century. Wyatt.
This guy feels like 1872 is what I got.
Is that you, Wyatt? Here, come closer so you can pick up the words as well. So you got Wyatt. What else? Is that you, Wyatt? That Danielle's picking up?
Chloe.
Chloe. That's
Chloe.
another name. Chloe.
Again, a dated name.
Chloe.
All dated names.
Chloe's
Wyatt and Chloe.
Ruth's
Yeah.
Ruth's very, and Wyatt's very Chloe. I could feel like you could still use Chloe.
Right. Yeah.
All right. I'm gonna go to the spirit box now.
Okay. It's like a white noise or something. Okay.
Is Chloe with us right now? Yes. Chloe, are you buried here?
I just keep getting this strange man.
Chloe, can you tell us how far to walk?
Left or right?
Left or right? Should we walk left or right? All I got so far is yes. So what's your
These graves definitely have been robbed or disturbed.
now does it stop over there?
When I was here with my other two friends a couple of months back, we walked a little bit to this like ledge over here.
Right.
We thought that there might have been a crypt here because of the way that the rock wall is.
I'm very lonely here.
I'm very lonely here.
Oh my God, who is that?
Why are you lonely? Can you go beyond here? Is this Chloe or Ruth? Her. They want to talk to you. You can talk to Danielle. Tell her. Why are you lonely here?
Who's here right now? Can we get a name?
Hearts connect. Feel.
Hearts connect. Feel.
It's random. What was down in this ditch area over here?
Are there more bodies beyond where we're standing?
Your family.
Not my family.
They're messing with us.
Noise. There is noise, yes. They have construction going on. Is that bothering you? Is it too much noise for you? See, when we went to Letchworth, it goes to show you that we were getting a lot at Letchworth. And over here we're getting some, but it's not
In peace.
in peace.
Wonder if you'll get something in there.
So one person said they are lonely. This person said they're in peace. All right. So there's some stuff going on here.
Yeah.
And you wholeheartedly believe that the town here or the state of New Jersey didn't exhume these bodies. They
No.
just
I think these might have been robbed. I think they were disturbed in other ways. I think maybe somebody came in to like make it look like that. But if you're going to exhume someone, you're not going to have a headstone. You might see the bottom piece that holds the plaque, but the headstone's right behind it. So if they exhume them, where are they throwing them? In a mass grave? It just doesn't make any sense.
wow. So before we leave, this is the Jewish cemetery side by side with the Dutch cemetery. Hopefully you guys can hear us because they got construction going on. But Danielle knows the history, and she also says there's something very interesting. Back there, we caught a specific name. She's been here before, and she's going to show us something, but go ahead about the history.
So this actually was a small congregation that was in Paterson, New Jersey over 100 years ago. And they actually broke out into like different sectors from this main congregation up until about recently. So a lot of these headstones you're going to find were at like turn of the century, like 18 to 1900s, pre-World War I. And they found this plot of land in Hawthorne because Paterson is very dense and it's very urban, to bury the members of their congregation. I believe the most recent person buried here might have been in the 1990s, maybe even early 2000s. This is kept up with. Somebody keeps coming through and doing the grass. What's interesting is a couple months back I came here and it looked like there was like a ritual bowl and candles and like stuff that somebody's here doing rituals. Don't know what that's about. But if it's still there, it means they came back for it. Supposedly if you do rituals on sacred ground, they work better. I wouldn't know.
I wouldn't do that.
I'm definitely not someone who would know that.
Careful on the way up, buddy.
I'm going to move this.
All right, so you said you know one of the names that possibly popped up that's in the cemetery.
Ruth. I heard that and I've seen it here before. I just don't remember which one. A
Now
lot
this
of these
is
are in Hebrew.
Hebrew, right?
Yeah. But the names are recognizable. I mean, it's like
This is
Celia, John, Joseph.
Block.
People have been visiting them. There's rocks on top.
Yeah, this has been a visited grave. I will lose my you know what if we find a Wyatt and a Ruth here as well.
I would be shocked to find a Wyatt here, but hey, just because it doesn't strike me as a Jewish name. There's a bunch of headstones here.
Both be Jewish names.
Yeah.
Wyatt, I would never, but you don't know.
I wouldn't know.
But to have the trifecta like that in the same cemetery.
No, that happened. That happened once. I don't know if that can happen again. That's like astronomical. What is that?
That's the ritual bowl. You see it, the plastic
No,
bag.
that's
on the
not
side
a
of that?
ritual bowl. That's something. Oh no, it's a bag. Okay, I was bugged out for a second.
If you look closer on that, it's a plate with a candle underneath and some other stuff. I didn't touch it, but somebody was doing something in here.
Yeah, no, I'm not touching that.
Yeah. I would not recommend it. And it looks like they've come back.
I thought it was like an animal for a second. I was like, I'm not going near that.
Oh no.
Harry, Mary, Aaron, David.
There's a bunch of headstones here too that probably fell over or grown over, forgotten about. This is weird. They normally don't let the grass get to this point.
Don't see
These are Mason symbols on the top too.
don't see any kind of I don't see any names there yet. The ground is crazy.
It's crazy. I was here in June and it was not like this.
So you remember seeing Ruth here?
I do remember seeing Ruth here. I don't know which one though.
These look really old. Like
Oh,
over
yeah.
here, very, very old. Older than
And the ones that don't have the Star of David, some of them have Mason symbols on top. A lot of the obelisks are actually dedicated Masons, and they like to be buried together, from what I understand.
Yeah, that's pretty much the whole cemetery. I didn't see any
Bugs
of those
are
names.
crazy.
Danielle, we want to thank you for taking us out here, giving us time with the interview. It was awesome. I hope that we could work together in the future. We could set
Cool.
something up in New Jersey, because Jersey had a whole magazine called Weird New Jersey, and there's a lot of stuff out here that we could take a look at together.
Yeah.
So again, Danielle Taverna, give your information one more time.
It is, my Instagram is at Psychic Medium Danielle Taverna, and my website is readingsbydaniellet.com.
Everybody, thanks for watching this special edition of the Say What Again Billy podcast, and be sure to continue watching and listening as spooky season is officially kicked off. Thank you.